Once we've drawn our letters to the right scale, we need to start to think about making them look 3D. This will give us more design options when we come to stylise the text. Many graffiti fonts are 3D and it helps give another dimension to the image. It turns a 2D or flat letter into a 3D shape or form, giving it a depth. The depth comes from one side, so if you look on this example, I'm extending the depth of each letter out on the right hand side. The reason we just add the width on one side is because that would be the angle or the viewpoint that you were looking from. You wouldn't be able to see it from multiple angles. You can see here on the S where I'm taking it from one side and looking at where I might see certain angles of the curves, maybe from underneath. So there are 3 examples here of 3D letters. I'm going in, making corrections, checking for accuracy before I start to think about how I might develop the next stages. Purely to help you understand how this is a 3D form, I'm now going to apply tone or shading. So I'm bringing the dark tone in on that side section where I've given it depth. You won't need to think about adding colour to your work until you've actually developed the design, but this is just to try and help you see that 3D element that little bit clearer, where things are raised up, where there might be a little bit of a shadow cast, and where we see things from different angles. On the letter S, I'm going to show you the same idea, but just using a colour. When we come to add colour and pattern to our design, we wouldn't be working necessarily with a black, we'd be looking at more vibrant colours like Wilf Descent does in his work. So here I'm showing you the 3D effect, but just using a bright primary colour to get that sort of 3D depth. Again, you won't be adding the colour yet, that will be the final thing that you do on your design, but it is just to show you how colour can enhance that 3D form. Finally, when you do come to render your designs in colour, it may be that the 3-dimensional element has got a pattern to it. If you think about Wilf Descent's work and the way that he looks at his African influences and the patterns that he brings in, you know, there's every chance that he would add pattern to the 3D depth on the piece of work, or maybe pattern behind it. So you can start to think about those different elements and maybe different ways that you would combine your colours when you render your designs later. You could start thinking now about the sorts of colours that you might want to combine in your final design, things that maybe will clash or complement each other, things that maybe will create contrast. As Wilf does at the final stage of his graffiti work, he'll start to bring in the black line to define it. So on this one, I've brought in a black line around the edge. Obviously, he plays around with the line thickness and different types of effects within that. So just a series of 3D letters for you to think about when it comes to developing how you make that 2D letter into 3D font.